What's up, fellow tech heads? John Rettinger from TechnoBuffalo here with a review for you of the Sony Ericcson W518a feature phone for AT&T Wireless. This sucker's gonna run you $49.99 after a $50 mail-in rebate and a 2-year contract. As I mentioned in the unboxing, I don't generally do that many feature phone reviews, but this one actually I got by popular request. Let's go ahead and get started. Before we get into the features, it's a phone and it's got to make good phone calls. It actually does that quite well. It takes advantage of AT&T's 3G HSDPA network and takes advantage of it actually quite well. Phone calls were clear. People on the other end of the call heard no white noise and it sounded nice and crystal clear on my end. So kudos to Sony Ericcson for putting a nice radio in the phone. Let's go ahead and talk about some of the features of this thing. It's got a pretty slim design, as you guys can see, and it's got 3 buttons on the front and an external display. Let me show you what that external display does. If you go ahead and open up the phone, so you close it, you get the time, your signal strength, if you have any new messages, battery, and even what network you're on, the H signals HSDPA. These 3 buttons here obviously take advantage of the Walkman features into the Sony Ericcson phone. If I go ahead and hold down play, for example, they are touch-sensitive buttons, by the way, as well. It'll start to play a song. And actually, it's got a really loud speaker as well. I'm going to go ahead and stop that before I get into any sort of music violation. But it does function as advertised. You can scroll from next song to left and right, and you can actually do that quite easily. And this thing will play MP3, WMA, AAC, AAC+, and eAAC as long as they're not copywritten or they don't have any sort of encryption on them. Like if you download a song from iTunes, for example, and you get it with the DRM, it's not going to play. But if it's just a standard MP3, you'll have no problem playing that. So one of the nice things about this too, it's got a 3.2 megapixel camera, which actually does a quite nice job. Takes some really stellar pictures. It's got your standard kind of features you'd expect. It's got HSDPA, like I mentioned. It has assisted GPS, meaning it'll use the cell network and its internal GPS antenna to get you a good location, so you can take advantage of navigation software on the phone. It really does a lot of things. It does a lot of things quite well. So I'm big into the internet, as you guys know, and it does have a web browser, although it's a little bit gimped because it is just a feature phone. And I say just a feature phone. If you're looking for just a standard telephone that you can send a few texts, you can answer calls, and you can make calls, you know, this is a pretty decent option. So let me show you what this web browser looks like. Go ahead and hit this button right here. And notice it's got Facebook. I'll talk about that in just a moment. And we'll go to MediaNet. And it connects using the mobile network. And you get that sort of option. This is claimed to be an HTML capable browser. My experience, it wasn't quite so HTML capable, but it definitely did work. So you can scroll, kind of using your finger, and you get a sort of mouse-like cursor. It's a very rudimentary browser, but it's also very functional. If you want to check some scores of a game, you want to check some stocks, you want to do some simple web tasks, this is actually going to work out quite well for you. So one of the big things about this is actually AT&T is launching a Facebook app on their phone. You can actually launch again using that same quick launch button right below the send key. And you saw it right there under running apps. It actually will run .jar applications. So we'll go ahead and open up Facebook. And you'll see you get a simple login screen. You get a relatively nice Facebook application. I'm not going to show you guys here because certainly I'd have to go through my whole profile with you, but taking my word for it, the Facebook application does work quite well. The buttons on the phone are a little bit different. They kind of got these circles, which I thought I wasn't going to like, but you actually get used to. The circles around them actually make sure you're not pressing the wrong one, and there's a pretty decent amount of space between them. I found the keys were actually relatively easy to type in. Texting was fine. It was your standard texting experience using T9 or multi-tap on a set 9-key keyboard, but it worked, and it does kind of what you'd expect it to do. So if I have to rank this phone on a 1 to 5, I'd give it a really solid 4. It works well. It works as advertised. I wish it had a few more smartphone-esque features like a better calendaring system and possibly some more alerting options, but it does work very well. And if you're looking for just a feature phone that will make phone calls, this is quite a decent way to go. So the last thing I want to mention, guys, is something called AT&T Share. And I want to give you full disclosure. This is something that AT&T, when they sent me this device to review, they actually asked me to mention. So to be nice, I'm going to mention it to you guys as well. And actually, it is kind of quite neat. It's AT&T Share's Facebook application. And essentially what that does is it lets you kind of use AT&T's Facebook application that I just showed you, and it kind of lets you earn points. You have to become a fan of AT&T Freedom of Choice on Facebook. If you haven't already, I'll put a link to it in the sidebar. Essentially, you kind of create, document, and you share your unique AT&T mobile phone experience for others, and you can make points, and you earn these points, and you can use them for tickets to concerts and all kinds of other stuff. It actually is a pretty neat program. Wanted to let you guys know about it. Again, full disclosure, something that AT&T asked me to mention. So guys, that was it. Just a relatively short review here. Hope you enjoyed. For exclusive content, be sure to check me out on Twitter, twitter.com/John4Lakers. To learn more about TechnoBuffalo, check out technobuffalo.com or twitter.com/TechnoBuffalo. See you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.